Hello and welcome to Joe McKevitt from Uptime Labs, who today we'll be asked some questions as part of Global Entrepreneurship Week. So let's get started. So the first question is, what do you enjoy most about being an entrepreneur?
Good question to start. I guess it's doing your own thing, building your own company. I personally like creating stuff. It's quite creative person, and before I started our startup, when I ran for other companies, worked for other companies, we did lots of things like initiatives internally, and I got a buzz of taking an idea and following it through. And that's exactly what I like about being an entrepreneur. You have this idea, and then you follow through and sort of build a product and build a company. So that's what I like, seeing the idea and following it through.
What do you find most challenging about being an entrepreneur?
Load of challenges. Very, very challenging. It's not for the faint-hearted. Okay. So biggest challenge, I think, my game in software, right? Like we run a software startup, okay? And we had an idea 2 years ago. Taking that idea and then building a profitable company is hard work. And there's a number of different really hard problems you have to solve. The idea itself is like 1%, maybe 0.5% of what it takes to get, in my opinion, a profitable company. But maybe the last year, our hardest challenge has been this idea we have, proving it out. Are people willing to pay for this idea? Even though your friends and your family will tell you yes, you really need to work hard to prove it. And it takes a long time. It takes a lot of effort to build something people are willing to understand. And then you get into hard conversations of how much they're going to pay for it. So, the term is product market fit, that's what they refer to. So that has been our biggest challenge to date, has been taking our idea, getting to the point where we are now, where we understand the value of what we're selling and how much people are willing to pay for. And there's a whole litany of problems you need to overcome to get to that point. Okay.
What have been your most significant failures, and what did you learn from them?
There's been a humongous amount of failures in the journey. Thankfully, no big ones. I think we've been lucky. We sort of have the mentality of get stuff done. Don't be afraid. Just get on with it. So when you work in like a startup environment, as an entrepreneur in a startup environment, there's a lot of uncertainty. So you don't have all the decisions. Like if it's a technical person, I like to know everything, and then I make a decision. I'm confident it's going to work. If that doesn't work in the real life in startup, you have to make decisions with loads of uncertainty and go with it. And then the trick is to know when you're on something. It's basically like taking a bet, and you make small bets. And if the small bet works out, great, you double down, you're on the right track. If the bet doesn't work out, you sort of suck it up, learn from it, and then don't make the same mistake twice. So there's been a litany of them. I think let's just give a couple examples. Maybe we went down the route. We went very early into selling mode, which was pro and con, right? So the pro was that back to we were figuring out what people willing to pay for our product. But we also, and they were very early on, we found that out, they were willing to pay, but then you had to service the customer. And we had to very, very quickly turn around and give a good customer service. And we paid for it. You had to give good customer service. But that then really made it hard to innovate because you already paid for something. So it wasn't a very creative atmosphere. You sort of had to deliver it, get it done. And so that's pretty stressful. So, if I revert back that, maybe we'd be better doing a bit more experimentation, a bit more freedom to experiment without focusing on the value prospect first. So yeah, just a load of things like that. And it's pros as well, because the other side of it is I'm glad we did it, because we learn how to sell very quickly, and we learn what the user wants very quickly, and we learn how to deliver product very quickly. So it's completely gray area. In my opinion, about these things, there's constantly trade-offs. But the trick is, as an entrepreneur, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Get on with it. It's my opinion, and be resilient enough to avoid big bets, but take small bets and just move on quickly and learn from them, and try not to make the same mistake twice.
What do you wish you could have done differently?
So I was I was in a very comfortable position, let's put it like that, right? Very comfortable position in a big firm, and the opportunity came to, you should, I always had this niche of like starting something ourselves, me and my co-founder. So I said, yeah, let's do it. And yeah, let's do it for a year. And I'm 2 years in now, and it's going to be another year or two, I think, before we're going to be in let me say the same position I was before I left. So I think it's you don't really know. I'm glad you don't really know how hard it's going to be until you do it. And I'm not so sure if I knew at the time how hard it's going to be, I would have done it compared to how comfortable I was. But now we're on the other side of it, and certainly we can see the goal in sight. I'm glad we did it. But yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted. Definitely going out on your own, especially when you're middle-aged and you have like my setup. At the time I had 4 kids, and now I have 5 kids. So that's one of the challenges. But I certainly have no regrets.
What makes an entrepreneur successful?
Yeah, it's a good question. This is my opinion. Might be right, but the starting point, I think, for me is having a co-founder, a good co-founder. So I just didn't have the strength to go out on my own, do this type of journey of taking a business and running with it. And I have full respect for people who can just, the likes of Brian Conlon went out there and did his own thing. First derivative, it's amazing. He had the strength to do that. Not for me. I need a team around me. So I have a set, particularly my co-founder, Hamid Salami, who's from London, who I worked with for 10 years plus. We're like a partner. We're like a partnership where he's, he complements me with skills. So, my strengths and my weaknesses, he complements them. So that's essential, having that strong team. And when we do have the ups, I'm there basically bring him back down to earth. He gets more up than me. But when we get downs, he started picking me up, and vice versa. And that really matters, because you do have your peaks and troughs, and when you're doing this entrepreneurial thing. So having the team, I think, is very, very important. And then the determinism and resiliency to get on with it, is very, very important. So when we started our company, there's a couple of other members who were with us when we originally the idea, but the appetite or risk just wasn't there. So myself and my co-founder went with it. So having that belief in what you're doing and that risk appetite is extremely important. And you need to be really honest with yourself. Are you willing to do this? Like when it gets tough, are you willing to stick it out? And that's something very, very important, I think, for an entrepreneur. That's essential. Because that's, sometimes it's who survives, because it is tough out there.
What do you look for when building a team?
We were very deliberate hiring strategy. So first of all, we were like in COVID, a lot of startups really, this happened. It took COVID really to trigger it. We're a remote first company. So you leverage remote working. Okay. So my sort of strategy is, number one is that we have very particular skills that we need. So we hire very specialist folks. So for example, in a lot of our automation, we have 2 or 3 AI specialists, and they're based in London, Nepal, Paris. I've got a lead engineer from Sri Lanka. So being able to get that real talent anywhere in the world is fantastic, right? Okay. The other factor is bringing in, then we sort of recruit talent from within Northern Ireland. Very important to us. So I follow the model of First Derivative. They've inspired me a lot how I approach Uptime Labs, which is our company. So we look for hungry, ambitious, intelligent, but really people open to learn and be flexible in a startup. There's loads of uncertainty and loads of flexibility. You need to do lots of things. You're really creative. So, you're not a luxury to say, I'm only a coder, I'm only going to code all day. That's not how it works in a startup. You need to be prepared to wear multiple hats. So we look for people who have that sort of appetite to say, yeah, actually, I like the idea of variation and generalism. That's really important to us. And that's, everybody does it. And the other factor we really care about is you're good with the customer. So we're not interested in people who are into, I've got a certain skill and that customer stuff, that's for somebody else. That's not how we operate. Everybody who builds our product or involved is customer facing. It's very, very important. You understand the needs of the customer, and then what you build and deliver to a customer, you're getting the feedback very quickly, whether it's good or not. So that's another, when we look for people, is people who really care about customer service and customer success, no matter what their skill is, what their core skill is.
What makes an effective leader?
My leadership style, I basically taken off out of a book, really, and I've been using it for years. I have a leadership style which I read from a book, Drive by Dan Pink, and it's sort of in three parts, really. This is for me why I do what I do, right? It's a company building thing, right? Number one is very clear purpose. So when people join us, the leader provides very important direction. So it starts off with direction of company. What are we trying to do this year? Right? Why does the company exist? Okay, for Uptime Labs, we exist. So just to go back, we start with purpose. So you know what we do, okay, as a company, right? So when you log into work every day, you know that piece of work you do, you know how it fits in, helps run a business. Is very important. So Uptime Labs, we're about building a better resilient world, right? And companies, they're the better resiliency, right? So when I'm flying, my airline software stays up, okay? My booking software, etc. If I bank, who I bank with, the software stays up. And when it goes down, they recover as fast as possible, okay? And everyone involved, we do it better, right? That's our mission. So mission and purpose is very important to leadership, and being very clear with your staff about what the mission is very important. And I do that daily when I work on our team. Like, what's our mission today? What's our goal today? What's our goal for the week? What's the goal for the quarter? It's very important. That's probably the most important job as a leader. Then the second one is I create space for autonomy. So we are very clear on problems we try to solve or set goals. We're not interested in setting solutions for people. Our staff figure out how to solve these problems themselves. So it's very, very important people have the space to figure out how to solve the problem. So it's very, very important. So that's autonomy. And then the third one Dan Pink talks about is mastery. So also we fully respect people to get good at what they want to do and invest in them to get good at what they do. So just like Uptime Labs, what we do, we sort of would expect companies to invest in getting people really good instant response or on call. You can be the best you can be for yourself, for your customer, and ultimately for the business, right? Just the same. So leadership in my book, people work for Uptime Labs, is the clear direction we want to do. They're given the space to figure out how to solve our problems. So we have all our staff are problem solvers. And three is they're allowed to get good at what they want to do. So if you're a coder or UX or a developer or a product person or a salesperson, you get the time to master your craft, which is very important. And those three things, I think, keep people motivated. And yeah, that's the job of a leader, in my opinion.
So what advice would you give to someone just starting a business?
Take a deep breath. I think first of all, are you ready to start a business? I should ask yourself the question: are you ready to start a business? And are you ready to take that leap? And it depends on the appetite of risk, what you're trying to do. So, and where you're positioned. So just have that honest conversation with yourself first. Are you ready to do it? And it took us, we had this idea 5 years ago. It took us 3 years to build up the courage to do it, right? And that took a while of self-talk and convincing. So I think that honest conversation is important. Like, you definitely don't want to sleepwalk into doing it. I think you want to take the time, because to do it, it's a marathon, right? So you don't just walk in a marathon, I'm going to do a marathon and turn up. It's not how it works, right? So you need to be mentally ready to make the commitment. and then get yourself positioned. So, I spent one of the things I did was position myself so I could take the risk and take the jump. It took me a couple of years to be ready to do it. Then it's complementing yourself with your team. So personally, I just feel I need a team to do it, because I'm not one of these generalists who can do everything. I have loads of crap at loads of things, which is why I need the help. So if you can bring people in with you for this idea, and you've got that core team, and it only started with just two of us at the start, and then slowly we could bring people in, right? That helps. That helps. And there has been times where we realized we're missing a particular skill. We tried to do it ourselves. You know what? We really didn't realize how hard this is, and we brought that skill in. And you have to be comfortable letting go of control and do that. So, those are things that you got to be prepared for, and have the strength to do it, have the team members to do it. And maybe the last one is, and this is just me personally, right? You're not judged on your business. I think for me, building a company and stuff like that, and going for the risk, but ultimately, if it didn't work out, it wasn't like a failure on Joe McKevitt. Joe McKevitt's Joe McKevitt. He does things. He started Entrepreneur. He helped people, in the company, whatever. But ultimately, I am who I am. I'm not my company. And if it's a failure, it's a failure, and you move on. And that helped me drive and do more and take more risk, and not be afraid. Because lots of successful entrepreneurs do have multiple failures beforehand, and I think you need to be resilient enough to say, if I go into this and the worst case scenario is it doesn't work out, am I resilient enough to recover from it? And if you are that type of person, then I think you're ready to be, you do the skills and to be an entrepreneur.
What do you consider non-negotiable in your business?
Customer service is very important to us. Customer's always right. So I learned that years ago from my dad's. My family had a petrol station, and they had this poster saying, "Look after your customer, or someone else will," and that stayed with me no matter what. And I admire companies who really do good customer service, even local customers in Newry. I totally respect, Graham Finnegan, what he does in Finnegan's Son, great customer service with Graham. This is one example, right? But I see it everywhere, right? I see it everywhere. Great customer service. Q's in Camla, again, they're a great ambassador for good customer service. And that for me is the start of any business. Look after your customer. And this everywhere. We're really good at that, by the way, in Newry, I think. The hospitality you get here really matters. Carrickdale is another one. I see it all the time, see it everywhere. And that for me is the essence. Even though I'm a tech company, we do AI and all this incident management stuff and this complicated finance stuff. Boil it back down is whenever you deliver, make sure you give good customer service. And that is our number one. So we're obsessed with that. We have daily checks on our metrics and customer service. It's very, very important we measure that, and always, as we grow as a company, we're always measuring that and trying to improve.
How do you manage feelings of doubt?
I guess it's just my co-founder, really. That's probably my go-to. I've got someone in my team who I lean on in the business perspective. And then I have to say, strong family, particularly my wife, very good. She's listened to a lot. When you go in this type of endeavor, like I have, it was a family sacrifice, not just a single sacrifice. So we've a big family, and my wife has taken a lot of sacrifice on, and success is 50% hers, right? Whatever happens. So that having a strong, and it can be, for me, it's personally my wife and my co-founder, but it can be, you just need that network around you to talk to and can trust and be yourself and be totally open to be yourself too, which is very, very important.
So is there any other advice that you'd like to add for any entrepreneurs out there that you may not have mentioned?
Well, this one would be have a mentor. I've been watching for years a lot of mentors in my life, and watched entrepreneurs. And I would classify an entrepreneur as like local farmers who go out and, I have a couple of farming in my family. My father-in-law's a farmer, my dad's a farmer, and my uncles were farmers. I always watched how they worked, and they're entrepreneurs. What they do, they run their own businesses. And I've got a cousin, my wife's cousin, who runs a butcher's in Stewartstown, and he's an entrepreneur. And the way he runs his butcher's is superb. So much respect how he runs his service and his shop. And he's got great customer service. He's one of the best. Low Butchers in Cookstown. And I just admire entrepreneurs and would pick their brains all the time. And I have a team of that around me. You know, even in the startup, I went and deliberately some really good advisors have been there and take that advice. So have those role models, have those mentors, and you don't need like a Bill Gates or a Richard Branson or that. They're probably on your doorstep. So yes, you know, small business owners are particularly good, gritty entrepreneurs you can talk to, especially when you start off at the start.
So we are asking each interviewee to answer a question left by them by the previous person, and then asking them to choose a question for the next person. So the previous interviewee asked, "What do you do to blow off steam?"
I play football with my kids, so I'm lucky. I'm very, very fortunate with five kids and 4 boys. And the moment 3 of them are playing football with me, no doubt, almost my boy will as well. So I love playing a little 2-on-2. It's good, great fun. They ask me to play at like 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday night. Like, you know, they always ask if football mad. But playing football with them is great. And I do a bit of running as well. I find the running, you know, I try to get out on a Sunday morning, do a bit of running as well, to clear the head. Physical stuff really helps me. It just helps me get out and get de-stressed. So that's my go-to. And I might have an odd beer as well.
And would you like to leave a question for the next person?
Yes, let me see. I had a question in mind. Yeah, if you were going to do another business, start up another business, what would that be?
So that concludes the interview. So I'd just like to thank Joe for coming on today and for taking time out of his busy schedule to do this interview with me. And I wish Joe and Uptime Labs all the best for the future of the business. So thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Pleasure.